Welcome, everybody. This has been quite nerve-wracking for the last 3 days because we're in a hotel which doesn't seem to have much internet going on. By a miracle of Spanish technology, there we have David Lynch's recording studio in the Hollywood Hills in Los Angeles. I'm not going to say too much here. I'm going to hand over to Jason Bentley from KCRW, Rob DeBank from Sunday Best Recordings and BBC Radio 1. And between these two and a little part of my own work, we've collectively been part of a quite incredible story of David Lynch releasing a piece of electronic music which really went like wildfire around the internet, but has since spawned onto a record that goes way beyond electronic music and is actually anything but electronic music. So I'll hand over to Jason, and Jason will introduce David and his studio partner.
Thanks, Ben. So yeah, David Lynch, do we have you? Are you here?
We got you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hi, David. Hello, Dean.
Hi.
And
Good to see you, Jason. Good to see you, Rob.
Good to see you, sir. And you're there with Dean.
Big Dean Hurley is here. Hi.
All right. Well, just very quickly, some background on this track, because it is an incredible story. And here we are a year later at the International Music Summit. In the spring of last year, I was sent a track, and I get a lot of things as attachments, emails, and, you know, I mix them up sometimes. So at the same time I got this particular track, I was also sent a new Underworld release. This is before their album Barking. Anyway, I ended up mixing them up on the air. I mistakenly played what was David Lynch's track and credited it on air as Underworld, New Underworld. Shortly thereafter, you know, the blogs are ablaze, and I get contacted by Underworld's camp saying, you know, mate, this isn't us. And, you know, I felt terrible. I went back, looked closer at the MP3s. Turns out it was a new David Lynch track. And to me, it sounded like Underworld. I mean, I love Underworld. And so it was completely unexpected, really, that David Lynch would produce this big, epic electronic record. All right, quickly fast forward to IMS last year, later that season. And I almost sheepishly presented to Ben, right here actually, back in that room, the track. I said, Ben, you should maybe hear this, because I have a track from David Lynch, and it kind of sounds like Underworld. And so I played it for you. You immediately responded. You said, I love this. I love the story. You ended up signing it. And Rob, you signed it to Sunday Best. Beautiful package, a relationship developed here, and that's where maybe I'll hand it over to you, because that spawned a relationship with David that's grown.
Yeah, hello, David. Your hair's looking very erect there.
Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, it was just after IMS that Ben sent me an email, I think, while you were still out here, and said, you won't believe this, I've got a track by David Lynch. And I thought, no, that's probably not right. A bit like when you got it mixed up, and immediately Ben sent it through. It went straight in my show that Saturday on Radio 1. You know, people started going, wow, there's a David Lynch track out there. People started getting very excited. We got in touch with your good self, David, through your agent, and we came and met you in Paris. Don't know if you remember that sunny day. I
sure do remember it.
we
it sounds like you guys are mixed up, though, but the mixed up thing really worked in my favor.
Yeah, I mean, we pulled up in this taxi outside the Café de Flore, which I think is one of David's favourite haunts in Paris. He was sat there smoking a Native American cigarette, sipping a cappuccino. It was like a scene from a David Lynch film. Me and Ben were, you know, absolutely wetting ourselves with excitement, looking very cool, obviously, on the exterior, and had a fantastic meeting with David where we pretty much agreed to try and work on an album together. And more recently went out to LA, sat in that very same chair in the background next to David, and got blasted with 10 or 11 amazing tracks that prove that the album is very much not an underworld project and a real across-the-board deep musical journey.
Well, it's worth noting also that things really came full circle as the single package with the remixes that you initially did for Good Day Today and I Know included an Underworld remix. So even though I had made that mistake initially, it came full circle, and they ended up kind of re-singing the vocal on it. And by the way, a beautiful package. David, you must have been pleased having met Rob and Ben, and then what they did with this amazing Vaughn Oliver designed package for the single.
Yeah, there's 10 trillion people in the music business, and you meet Rob and Ben, and you meet really two great human beings right away. I felt real good about them as people, and they said in the very beginning, let us prove to you guys what we can do. And they did a kind of a miracle thing. I think you'd agree, Jason. They got those two songs out in a huge way around the world, and got so much good feedback thanks to them. So it's real important for us to do the album with Sunday Best Recordings.
You know, I'm interested in the Vaughn Oliver connection. Rob, maybe you can elaborate on this. But, you know, Vaughn Oliver has said that he is hugely influenced by your work. And, David, were you aware of him as an art director at 4AD Records way back?
No, but I got aware, and it was really great that Vaughn wanted to do this, and Rob and Ben, that's part of the thing. I think what they did is bring in so many great people to this, and then the people enjoyed the work, and it goes out from many different sources. A good feeling. It's very important what they did.
Yeah, I mean, it was shortly after we met you, David, that, half an hour after we met you, me and Ben went for a boozy lunch to celebrate having met the mighty David Lynch, and everything seemed to have gone well, so we thought we'll go and have a bottle of wine before we get back on the Eurostar. And then we started thinking, right, you know, just say this does happen, how are we going to take this forward? Who's going to do the packaging? Who's going to do remixes? And started sort of cooking all the stuff up, and my favourite ever label is 4AD, home to the Pixies and, you know, numerous Cocteau Twins, just so many seminal artists. And we thought, wow, you know, Vaughn Oliver's artwork is so kind of graphic and seemed to fit with what we were listening to. Ben got on his BlackBerry, Googled V23 Vaughn's studio and found an email on there. We were sat there eating mussels or whatever and just texted him and said, Vaughn, are you there? Would you like to do some David Lynch artwork? And we got a swift reply saying, are you taking the piss? I think it said something like that. And then, yeah, Vaughn was totally blown away and came on board and created the beautiful artwork for the box set. And hopefully we'll be working with David on the future kind of artwork as we go forward.
Well, I'd love to know more about this album that, Rob, you described. You were sitting right there in that theater. David, how long in the making was this album? Because, Rob, how many songs did you hear that day when you sat with him?
Yeah, I mean, it was you'd interviewed him on KCRW, and then we travelled up to David's house, which is, I hope I'm not giving too much away here, but 3 big concrete sort of blocks next to each other in the Hollywood Hills, one of which contains this amazing recording studio. You can see in the background there are sort of 9 or 10 vintage kind of chairs. Where David's looking is actually a huge cinema screen, and then that's the projection room in the back. And I think I'm right in saying this is where you compose the music for your films as well?
That's right. I always wanted a studio from the very beginning because I was so loving sound, and I needed a place to experiment. So this is like a dream come true, this room. And experimenting with sound for film, you know, little things started changing, and sound get closer to, you know, music, and then it kind of led to this. So this is a great room for, you know, mixing for film and recording, you know, music. And but you need somebody good run a room like this, and this is where Big Dean Hurley comes in, the athlete at the desk.
As a disclaimer, there are so many knobs. David knows how to run everything. He just needs an extra pair of hands to run 2 additional knobs. That's where I come.
That is baloney.
Ben and I sat there with David and Dean, and essentially the lights went down. Dean hit a switch on the wall and the lights went down, and we were looking at this huge cinema screen, and I never realised that cinema screens are kind of perforated and the speakers are actually behind the cinema screen in order to whack you in the face with the sort of sonic flavours. So the lights went down, these speakers kind of got backlit behind this screen, and then David played us kind of 10, 12 of the works in progress, which were pretty much the whole album. Is that right, David?
Pretty much.
With some very bizarre titles and yeah, I mean some crazy clown time and the football game, and with David, you know, I mean your vocals, were they all recorded in the live lounge, in the live room there?
Yes, we've got a couple of little vocal booths here, and everything was done in this room.
And is it a very analog setup as opposed to digital, or how does it?
We got some analog things. You can see right behind here some, you know, old gear, but we're pretty much 100% digital.
So do we have an album title and an actual release date as of yet?
We have a title, Jason, but we haven't told anybody the title. And we have a release date, but I don't know what it is.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, you know, as you described the playback actually coming through the screen, it does make me think of the visual component to this. And of course, David, your background as a filmmaker and a photographer, and also your recent collaboration with Danger Mouse and Sparkle Horse, where you not only sang, but you provided the photography for this project. My question is there a visual component to these songs in this album?
You know, like now there's, like you said, there's, you know, possibilities for, you know, videos and stills, so many things. And I think songs are like paintings to me. Songs are stories. So there's scenes for each song. Whether or not they're filmed or shot is another question. But there's stories for each song.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to ask. I mean, obviously, I sat there and listened to all the tracks, and I've talked to you about some of them. But you talk about some of these songs coming up out of. You use the sort of analogy of a fish and coming out of the. What is it? I'm lost on what it is, but it's something to do with fishing. Tell me.
Yes, ideas I say are like fish, and like a fish, we know that the little fish swim near the surface, and down deeper and deeper the fish get bigger, and same way with ideas. And we try to catch, you know, big ideas, thrilling ideas, and once in a while that happens. And it can lead to music, it can lead to film, it can lead to painting, it can lead to all kinds of things.
So essentially you're having kind of waking dreams, or is this when you're asleep? Or?
Yeah, you can have an idea come at you anytime. And it's a thrilling thing. I say sometimes it's like fishing, that you just need patience and to focus on desiring an idea, and the desire is like a bait on a hook. It'll pull those ideas in. But it's still like in fishing, you can't guarantee in the next 5 minutes you're going to catch a fish. It just doesn't work that way.
You have so many different areas of your artistic expression, including woodworking and lamp sculpture, as well as filmmaking and photography, and now music. And I wonder how important music has become in your overall artistic expression.
Well, music is such a thrilling thing, Jason, as you know. It's so magical. And I always give credit to Angelo Badalamenti for bringing me into the world of music, working with him on Blue Velvet. I worked with composers before, but never like with Angelo. It was really taking me into the world, and we started writing together. And, one thing leads to another, and pretty soon a whole world opens up that wasn't there before for me. And out of this music, you realize how magical it is, and how like with working with Angelo, a combo will create a certain thing. Then working with Dean, it's a new person comes in, the combo is different, and another whole thing emerges. So it's very magical. It's so a critical element in cinema. And it's, I think, one of the most powerful art forms going.
Who do you think are the most important composers in Hollywood at the moment for film scores?
Angelo Badalamenti and Shostakovich.
Do you anticipate taking this music project to the stage at all? Can we get you out to perform?
Jason, that isn't going to happen, pal.
Well, I tried.
I mean, when people...
You never know. You never say never, but unfortunately, I am not a real musician. I can play things once. All this stuff goes out of jams. But to play it again and to learn it and to perform it and to make it right, this is another whole art form. Yeah, I got nothing but respect for the great musicians that can tour and sell this thing night after night. It's so beautiful, and it would be a thrill. But I don't think it's going to happen.
Have you ever sung in front of a live audience? This could be your chance.
Sort of, like maybe three people.
Some small group. Yeah, 3 people.
Well, it really feels like you're blossoming and evolving, and we're all able to watch this, and it's an exciting time. And I wonder if at some point, you can take this to the stage. Well, think about it.
Well, I hear you, and I appreciate you even considering that would be a good thing, and I look forward to you hearing this, Jason, this album. I think you're going to like it. I hope you do. And hope when I click on that radio in L.A., I can hear some of those songs every once in a while.
You described to me your sound as modern blues. Is that correct?
Yeah, I that's what we were mainly was driving our boat. That idea. But when I hear the songs now, the words modern blues don't really jump out. And I'm very curious to know what words would define this music, because there's blues elements, and there's some songs that are quite, blues, obvious blues things, but the others have another thing swimming with the blues, and I don't know what you would call that, Jason. Rob, do you know what you would call it? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I was just listening to the album, The Work in Progress, just out the back here before we came on and did this, and I mean, it's everything from kind of, it reminds me of some folk music, soundtracks, indie, electronica. There's so many different genres in there, but it's just totally different from anything, and that's the most exciting thing for me about putting this record out. It is completely fresh. It doesn't sound necessarily like a David Lynch record. It just sounds like a really fresh take on something. I was wondering if Dean had a take on what, when you're making the music together, what he thinks he's making.
Well, I mean, I'm not convinced it is music yet. We're no, it's still left to be said, but it's confounded me too, because we had always talked about this concept of modern blues, and started grouping those like-sounding songs together, and then other songs just in their creation you kind of set a bunch of variables in motion and see what happens, and you can't necessarily define the result of what it is. So it'll be interesting. It's interesting hearing certain people respond to it and pick out different elements that they hear, and I think it's kind of going to go like that.
I mean, David, I know you're a huge fan of Lissy, the American singer, and Florence and the Machine, and we've talked about a few other artists. What did you take influence from some of those new artists for your own music?
No, I love Lissy, and I love so many people's work, but this kind of, like I said, the initial thing is kind of a really mean, like a bad car engine, 50s bad car engine blues, Chicago electric blues, very, very bad quality, smoke, rough running. This is the kind of thing that started it.
Yeah, I mean, some of the songs sound quite dark and evil, and you've got some fairly crazy sort of vocal interpretations on them. Your voice, can be really high pitched and quite sort of spooky. When you listen back to them, how does it make you feel?
Real, real, real happy.
Cool.
Well, David, we're here at a international summit that's primarily the dance and electronic and club music world. Do you have any appreciation of electronic music in a general sense? Because that's kind of who's all here in Ibiza, and I'm just wondering.
I have a big appreciation for it now, more than ever, and it's, it does a thing. It does a thing that is supposed to be so infectious. It's supposed to enter the body and the mind on a deep, deep, deep level and make you crazy. It can keep you awake for days and make you so happy. It's incredible, powerful stuff.
Hit the nail on the head there, I think.
Okay.
Well, we wish you were here, David. We wish you were here.
Well, bless your hearts. I guess it's nighttime there, but I hope you all have a great night and get out and have a glass of Van Rouge or whatever and enjoy the beach and the music.
Is this you wrapping us up?
It might be. I thought you was wrapping it up. Are we talking about rap music? What is it?
I have a couple final questions. You recently relaunched davidlynch.com, and I wondered if you could talk about that a little bit.
Yes, it's re-released. It's not the same as it was. It's right now primarily music. Music that was done by others and music that was, I guess, in the category of experiments. I think the site still needs some work because people kind of get lost in there. And so we're talking about going back in and doing some fine-tuning, maybe bringing back the weather, because people, no matter where they live, they are somehow interested in what the weather is in other parts of the world. And it is interesting sometimes for them to know what the weather is like in Hollywood, California. So it's important to bring back the weather, I think. and then possibly introduce, more and more as time goes on. But it's as everybody knows, an internet site is a hungry animal, and it takes a lot of time to go out and gather the food and feed this thing.
I mean, you've made so many amazing films, David. I'm sure a lot of people in the room would like to know what you're working on at the moment. I know you mentioned to us in Paris that you're working on a documentary about the Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. Is that correct?
This is true. This thing is going to be a thing that's going to be in the works for a long time, I think. I'm trying to, fish for ideas for my next film, cinema. And I have a few fish in the basket, but they're not big fish. They're very interesting little fish in the basket.
I wanted to ask you about the David Lynch Foundation, which is kind of its own entity. But there is a compilation of music, all original music, coming out early June, I believe. This compilation is a benefit for the organization, and the David Lynch Foundation promotes meditation as a way to relieve stress, as a way to make the world a better place, I think. But if you could mention a little more about the organization and some of its goals.
That's beautiful, Jason. It's the David Lynch Foundation for Consciousness-Based Education and World Peace. This is a foundation to raise money to give transcendental meditation to any student anywhere in the world who wants it. And what's been found, now it's not just if any human being really who wants it. There are programs now that the foundation is, involved with for the homeless in New York City, the Doe Fund. All these homeless people are learning to meditate. They just get this experience of transcending, boom, big, thick happiness within every human being. This technique gets you there to that deepest level, and boom, life starts getting better and better. The American Indians suffering from all kinds of stress and diabetes, they're doing big research on how transcendental meditation is helping them. Children of the night, young girls into prostitution, teenagers from like 12 to 17, they've got post-traumatic stress disorder like crazy. You give them this technique, boom, happiness comes, all this stress is released, and they start getting their life back again. Students, unbelievable stress in schools, as you all know. And they get this technique, the fights stop, grades go up, relationships improve. It's very, very, very good, this thing of Maharishi's Transcendental Meditation. And this foundation was set up for that. Now, there's this thing, this David Lynch Foundation Music, where artists, musicians around the world donate a track. And if this track is downloaded, the money goes to the foundation. So some great artists so far have donated a track, and this thing is in its infancy right now, but it's very hopeful, and I think it's really great. Musicians are beautiful souls. Musicians are I think this profession, or you call it that, it's not really a profession, it's just a fun thing. Musicians are so great. They like to stay up late. They like to enjoy life, and they like to sleep late. They sleep late in the morning. They're more like children, and they want to help the world, and it's a very, very beautiful thing that they're helping the David Lynch Foundation.
So that compilation is out in June, available. There's some amazing artists featured, including Peter Gabriel and others. I mean, in the case of Peter Gabriel, I don't think he's ever contributed an original song just outright for free for a cause like this. When you describe the benefits of meditation, the impact of it, for those uninitiated, what's the easiest way for us to find out more?
You could contact the David Lynch Foundation, davidlynchfoundation.net, I believe it is, .org, and you need a legitimate teacher. So if you are interested in learning this technique, It takes about 4 days, about an hour each day, and then you have this technique for yourself for the rest of your life. Very, very beautiful, but get a legitimate teacher of Maharishi Mahesh Yogi's Transcendental Meditation. It'll really and truly change your life for the good. It works. If you're a human being, it works. It's so profoundly beautiful. And let's boogie for a better and better world.
Well,
actually, after meeting David, I actually, as I told David, signed up to do a transcendental meditation course and have done that course. And yeah, it's good
Boom.
vibes. Good vibes. Boom. Deep happiness.
Way to go, Rob. It's happened for you, buddy.
Well, David, you are such a hero of ours. You have walked the artist's path, and we admire you so much in everything that you've done. So thank you.
And I just want to check that is David Lynch coffee you're drinking there.
This is David Lynch Signature Cup Coffee. This is espresso. I'm drinking a cappuccino, espresso, and steamed milk. So it's a very, very great flavor. I had a coffee commercial using, but and now it's been asked to be taken down. So we got to work on a new coffee commercial, but it's a great flavor if you're interested in coffee.
David, have you ever been to Ibiza? Have you been here?
I've never had the pleasure of being to Ibiza, but I've seen a show on television showing locations in Ibiza. So I kind of have an understanding of what you all are experiencing. Lots of sunshine, sand, and a kind of a beautiful high-end beach scene.
Pretty much so.
Very nice. And what are you guys going to do tonight? What do you got planned for tonight?
Oh, big parties, I think. Everyone's... there's another two days of conference, 1 day of conference, so everyone's got to not go to bed too late. But yeah, there's some big parties coming up. One of your favourite DJs, David Guetta, of course, playing out here.
You beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
We'll send him your love.
Okay, good. Have a great night, you guys.
Thanks, man, and thank you for everyone in the room.
Thanks, David.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Jason. Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Ben. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, David.
Bye-bye.